now.
Okay. Right. So as you brought up before we started recording about how England was sort of desecrated in the 1950s with all the sort of brutalist architecture. I think one of the reasons why that may have been a little bit more severe in England than it was in the US, or um, well, for one thing, they were just like all your stuff was sort of demolished. Like in America, except when there's like a major fire that consumes a city, which is a pretty rare event. Um, we like we don't exactly have to demolish buildings very often when we want to build something new
Mm,
because we got so much space in this country. You can literally build something new next to the old thing.
yeah, whereas
Um,
England much less so. They're very
yes. So
condensed, very.
space, yeah, space is much more of a premium in the UK, especially England.
I mean, you can just tell that by the
Because
land
it's
prices, can't you? Um,
oh yes, I mean,
Buying hundreds of
unless
acres in the US costs probably the same amount as about five, depending on the location, but obviously.
depending on the location, if we're talking about like prime Iowa or Minnesota farmland, it's going to be a lot more expensive
Mm,
than a chunk of desert in the middle of Iowa or Wyoming
yeah,
or Nevada.
yeah, of course.
Also, in America, you'll occasionally get like random, like high population centers for like old religious migratory reasons, like for example, Salt Lake and Provo in Utah because of the great, Latter-day Saints, the LDS migrations and all that sort of thing back in the 1800s. Basically ended up with like this random sort of New England style, and from an ethnic point of view, a very sort of New England looking like genetically as well.
Yeah, you
Stock, we might say,
well, you did quite badly there.
in the middle
The
of
LDS
desert.
migrants coming in literally picked a wasteland, but I suppose that was probably the only place
But
where they could
yeah, but
go.
then we literally turned it into a major like hub,
Yeah, yeah.
like one of the major cities in the country. It's like a. And the thing is like we're a bit like the Dutch in that way. It's well, I say we're. My family has only been LDS for like 2.5 generations.
Oh, I see.
Uh, I'm not Utah stock. I'm not that old Utah stock, and frankly, there's a part of me that's a bit proud of it because Mormons from Utah tend to be rather like Catholics from Italy.
Mm,
They're not the most pious people. They're just sort of like when all the external culture is surrounded with it, being like internally religious is like becomes less important when everything is externally religious.
well, yes, when you were sort of minority in your region, coming into faith by yourself and by your own sort of own reason, and
Yeah,
is much more you can be much more devout, than just someone who's just born into it and kind of
yeah,
raised around it.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this isn't really the topic that we were meant to be discussing, though, is it?
Well, no, because you mentioned architecture and like
hmm
like we were famous for or no, not mentioned. We were going to be going in depth about architecture. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Um, like there used to be jokes from like the Gentiles, as we used to call them, all the ordinary non-LDS people, about they used to say that Mormons were the did nothing all day but build dams and plant trees.
mm,
Because literally that was like what a lot of the early saints did, back in the 1850s and 60s and all that, in Utah.
yeah.
Literally, there were like massive sort of terraforming projects to make this desert habitable.
Mm.
And we did a pretty darn good job of it, I think.
I mean, we could have a look at some LDS architecture if you want to.
Oh, some of the, yes, we could. Oh gosh, our temples are
What's
just,
your yeah? What's your
yeah.
if you had any church or building to show off um from the LDS? Which one would it be?
I used to live in St. Louis and I used to live in Alaska, so I'd love to show off the St. Louis temple and the
Yeah, please do.
Anchorage temple. The Anchorage temple is a bit small and sad, but it's also made from blue rocks instead of the ordinary white or gray stone, you know? So like it's like the stones basically are just like a slightly greenish color, which makes it a little slightly unique.
Okay.
Uh,
I'll look.
anyway, but yes, I just want to save a couple more images of the Frank Wright houses. Um, oh no, but anyway, gosh, back to the original topic of this tangent. My goodness. Um, I think that there was also like there was no immunity to like if we want to consider like thoughts and philosophies as like organisms and diseases and things, there was no like brutalism was sort of I think a bit of a foreign pathogen to the UK, and thus there was no sort of native immunity to it. And so I think that's why England got a bit smashed by brutalism in a way that America didn't.
Yeah, well, it was it was so radically different. You know, in London, you saw all of these Victorian, these even older buildings, sort of which dominated the city. And when you come in with these sorts of sort of smoothed edged um, sort of block type architecture, it's just thinking, whoa, what's going on here? And another thing is its bad legacy is also associated with the 70s and the kind of the depression sort of era in England when
Uh-huh.
things weren't going very well for us under a succession of sort of old Labour governments who were prioritising sort of nationalisation policy. Um,
Yes.
so that's and or council housing. That's it. So
Uh-huh.
it's
Well, you still hear people complain about the council housing to this day.
yeah, it's never and that was the policy of Thatcher really, is sending off huge swathes of these council homes, which um, I mean they were pretty grim, but it's better to
To
own
the
one
people
rather than
living in
just
them.
to rent one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gosh, it's like giving them away for free almost would have been better than like
Yeah.
the weird sort of low rent like bureaucratic project that it was.
Mm. Well, I think at
Well,
that stage,
I say
yeah.
that though as being like a terribly, and I understand there's not really a huge difference between giving someone for free a cheaply built house and giving them a $10,000 check.
Mm.
I understand why the government wouldn't and even shouldn't do that, but I mean, if you already had the houses lying around as a part of government property, not just, not actually just generating them out of nowhere, that's obviously absurd.
Mm. Well, that was the thing. They wanted to make money somehow, so they just decided to sell huge portions of industry that Labour had nationalised, and they got
Yes.
um they got a bit out of it. I mean, I'm no neoliberal, but I suppose it financially it worked. I suppose I'm not too informed about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I will just upload all of the uh all of the images that I've just downloaded onto the general
Okay,
thread
yeah. I mean, do
so
you
that
want
you will
to?
have
You could share
access
it,
to them.
or do you want me to
Oh,
edit in afterwards?
I was thinking we could do both, as I was thinking that I'd share them on the screen with you so that we could both sort of look at them at the same time and talk about them whilst also no. But also, just for the sake of the audience, we could have a slightly more, like high resolution image or whatever of the thing that we're looking at edited in.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll edit it in afterwards, but we'll look at it together on the stream.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so hold on. I made the mistake of trying to upload more than 10 images at once. I'm sorry. Let me just delay. I'm gonna do this in like chunks of 5, just because 5 is a satisfying number.
Is this
Anyway,
the
yes,
same house? Oh no, no, it's not. Sorry.
no, not yet. I'm getting to that later.
Okay.
Uh, Eventually, it will be several pictures of the house that I showed you before from different angles.
Hmm.
But basically, I just was like wanted to go through a bit of several different houses built by the same person, so that we can sort of get a feel for it. Like something that I noticed was I thought it might have been peculiar to just that one house, but it turned out it wasn't, is that there seems to be a lot of what we might call Oriental influence to some of the stuff that he built.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
you do find that with. I mean, I remember reading there was this German.
Basically,
Yeah.
before
Go on.
World War II, what well, there's always been a lot of like fascination with of the East with of the West with the East. But especially in the years before World War II, a lot of people in the UK and America were rather infatuated with Japan. It was what we
Mm.
might call the
The
pre
weeaboo
sort of
started early.
eh. Like there's a
Earlier
funny
than we
picture you
thought.
can find of like one of the first like the first recorded Japanophile, which was like
Mm.
a bald a balding American man with glasses, bespectacled, um, who traveled to Japan for a holiday, and he got his photo taken wearing a samurai suit of armor,
Yeah. Mm.
like way way back in like 1910 or something.
Yeah.
If you can find that photo later, I would love to just to share that
Okay.
with the audience or whatever.
I found the
Ah,
I did find this house actually. It was built by
uh,
this person called Bruno Taut, this German architect during the
oh.
1930s. He built it in Istanbul, but it actually was it resembles this kind of.
Well, put that in the general as well,
Yeah, okay.
in the general chat.
It was a Japanese style building built in Istanbul of all places.
Yes. What's on topic, I'm sure the audience would love to see it, and I'd
Hmm.
certainly love to see it as well. But of course, Istanbul, basically, well, it's kind of funny, is it's almost a bit like Iran, where the further back you go in history, the more open to the outside world it
Oh,
was.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
With Turkey and all that sort of thing. Um, of course, well, I suppose it's for like, a very simple reason, is they're both supermassive empires that were religiously and ethnically diverse.
Mm,
You sort of got to be a bit open-minded in order to not, collapse and sort of
mm.
implode under those circumstances. Um,
Well, you found that with Austria-Hungary in Vienna when it's kind of a huge conglomeration of different ethnic groups coming in, um,
yeah.
say in the
Well, like
parliament,
there's
that
some
kind of
funny
thing.
pictures that you can get from World War One where it was like a priest and an imam and a rabbi all like sitting at a table having lunch together on like a Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, and they were all the chaplains. They were all army chaplains in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Uh, like Monday was sort of like their bit of a day off because the imam had to preach on Friday and the rabbi had to preach on Saturday and the priest had to preach on Sunday.
Mm.
And so they would just like all get together and have like a bit of a lunch on Monday.
It's very modern.
Yeah, so we just looking at the. I thought you were gonna show me the house that was like Japanese inspired in
Yeah,
Istanbul or whatever.
I'm I'm just gonna put it on right now. There it is.
Yes, yes.
Right.
In which, oh yes, that is rather brilliant. Although I can certainly still see some of the I can certainly see, yeah, it's like I can certainly see a lot of the sort of Japanese inspiration, but I can also see how it's like, yeah, this is definitely looking at Japan through a very
Yeah,
Turkish
it's
lens.
like a
There's
mesh.
definitely still some,
Mm,
uh, but I guess that's always what you're gonna get. You know, like if we go upward a bit,
hmm.
near the top of the blur, you know, it's like at the very beginning of the image thread. No, there's a house that, you know, it look you can see the Japanese accents or whatever. You can see the inspiration, but it's very clearly a Western building, probably built
Yeah,
somewhere in the Midwest because of the use of bricks and cement.
yeah. It takes sort of imitates it rather than completely sort of its own spin on it. Not saying it's
Yes,
yeah.
but it's not a completely shallow imitation, I would say. You know, it's like although I don't like all or even necessarily most of the Frank Lloyd Wright buildings,
Mm,
like some of them. The ones that I do like, I like them strongly enough that, you know, like the Meyer May house. Now, it seems like Frank Lloyd Wright was a bit of an original. Uh, you know, and like all the terrible modern architecture we've gotten since then has sort of been like a shallow imitation of his masterpieces.
well, you're far more familiar with this character than me, so
Eh.
I'm only just
Well, no,
discovering him.
I literally just discovered it today as well.
Oh, okay.
Eh. Also, you know, it's like if we look at like the interior of the Meyer May house,
Mm,
it is severe, I will say, but it's still got some coziness to it, you know, like the chairs are properly made out of wood. You can tell that they're made by, well, at least assembled by hand. Like you can sort of tell it's like, yeah, the guy who built that definitely had like an electric saw, but
mm.
didn't seem to have much else.
Is this in general, or is this something that you've found?
Oh, and that, yeah. Um,
I will just
Man,
I'll
I just
warn
can't
you.
get over how neat the interior pictures. Yeah, what? You'll
I'll just
warn me?
I'll
What?
warn you beforehand that this might take a little longer to edit, as I'll have to put lots of
Oh,
pictures in. It's all right.
oh yes, I understand because all the images. Yes, and also, you know what is you know, I really should get streaming so that we can sort of look at the same images at the same time,
Hmm.
not have to scroll through this massive pillar of pictures that I've put together. Yes, I'm sorry for being such a goof.
Aren't we all though? So it's fine.
Um, yes, so you can see it now.
Oh yes, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it seems to me that his old Lloyd Wright's sort of main the cut and the cut and thrust of his style, we might say, is essentially marrying classic forms with modern materials.
Yeah, this is a bit strange, isn't it? It's like this Tudor modern blend.
Yeah, it's like a yeah, and the thing is, I think that this is actually one of the nicer looking houses. Like, is it a bit doofy and modern? Yeah,
Mm.
but it's not repulsive. It at least looks like a
It's
house.
a bit like a sort of an almost haunted house, like
Eh.
stuff stuck on the sort of sides of it. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, yes, yes, that I see that now. Yeah, it's
And
like
the
it looks like two
walkway.
houses that were literally put together.
Mm.
It's not the most harmonious thing, I suppose. I must concede that point. I was actually going to say the main thing that I don't like is actually the sort of the giant
Yeah, the roof
overhang on the front
sort of
porch.
yeah protruding out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like most of this roof I actually do rather like because it looks a lot like a, you know, like historical building and like especially the sort of this beautiful molding around the windows on the
Mm.
front. or even like this sort of beautiful, like a, what would you even call it? Like pierce work, or like this beautiful sort of cement sculpture here with all the geometric shapes, very
Yeah,
symmetrical
yeah.
here by the porch.
I mean, you can tell
Most of this porch I like.
you can tell he tried to make an effort. It
Yeah,
might not be
yeah.
perfect, but you know, he tried. So
Yeah, he didn't just break out the ruler and compass the way that they do today, you know. He put a bit of originality into it.
this was also
Uh,
during the sort of 1907 around that time.
yeah, the turn of the 20th century.
Mm.
You know. Uh, but you know, it's a bit funny though. It's like the funny thing is, you know, like people were building houses like this, and like this, and like this, and like look at all these houses that he built.
Mm.
And these houses were all built back when the average farmer in Alabama or Mississippi still would have been like there was a near 50% chance he was illiterate. There's a near 100% chance that he still relied on a mule to pull his plow instead of a tractor.
Very authentic.
Uh, no, and like some of these interiors I rather don't like. Like this interior is sort of much too open for my taste, and it's much
Yeah,
too
it's very.
asymmetrical.
Mm, it's sort of just it's very open
Yes.
plan, isn't it? I'm not. I mean,
Yes, it feels very generic, you know. It doesn't
mm,
feel like it must be that way in the way, like it's not, that space is not begging you to do something the way that some spaces do.
yeah. We would emphasize
Well, speaking
viewers
of, you know,
that
like, yeah,
this is a truck law, so it is when we're talking about this architecture, it's more of our own tastes, I suppose, rather than any deep political commentary.
yes, we've not put too much thought or study into this beforehand. We're flying on the seat of our pants even more than usual today.
If that's possible.
We always do, but yes, yes, we always do. Also, my brother's being remarkably quiet.
Yeah, I know.
He's just sort of standing in front. My brother, not Heather. My
Yeah.
brother is remarkably quiet today. He is playing video games, but he's not doing it online. So,
Uh,
which I think is, but he's using the VR, so he's sort of standing in the middle of the bedroom, sort
yes.
of, you know,
It must be really
looks like he's
entertaining.
possessed.
Well, yeah, it's probably really entertaining to watch someone like that with a VR headset.
Yes, he just flipped me the bird actually because he heard what I was saying about him. uh, uh, I must have him as a guest sometime, but he
Yeah.
is sort of a
What would you be
horribly
talking about?
insufferable.
Video games or something?
I think we'd just get into a bit of a fight on communism that would eventually devolve into fisticuffs.
Oh yeah, he's a socialist, isn't he?
Yes.
Or
Like
is he even
literally
worse than that or
yesterday,
something?
he yeah, the thing he's like he's a socialist, but he's like a resigned doomer socialist who like
Oh
you know
no,
like he
what?
works at Walmart and all that.
Oh,
And like he's a bit depressed because he participates in the system that he desires to destroy every single day, so it feels like he's selling his soul to the devil.
yeah. That's
Oh, now,
very
whereas
sort of
I, you know, yeah,
very nihilist. What's the word?
yeah,
Um,
not nihilist, you know, it's not that he thinks that life has no meaning, it's just that he's not experiencing a meaningful life.
well, like, aren't we all in this current state? To be fair to him, but at least the our
You can
definition of what
minimize
a
your grief in this world.
our definition of what a meaningful life would probably be different to what his would be. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Without
To
trying to insult your brother too much. Sorry if I
Yeah, no,
you know.
it's fine. He is like a major spastic. I aren't we all?
It's quite funny. Just
Uh,
is he listening to all of this right now?
a bit. He's ignoring it mostly.
Oh, okay.
He's got the headset on plus headphones, so
Oh, I see. I
he
see.
can barely hear a thing I'm saying.
No, I
No.
can hear basically everything you're saying. I'm just choosing to ignore you.
Oh, thank you for being quiet. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
back to Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah, back to Frank Lloyd Wright. So it's like some of these buildings, yeah. Crap, no, what were we talking about before we got on the tangent about my brother being
Talking about
a cunt?
open plan and the insides of
Open plan,
buildings.
yes. Oh, yes, and I was gonna look at a picture of the nicer from the Mayor May house, or the Meyer May house, however you like to pronounce it. Because it's one of these one of the few sort of modern buildings. Say modern. It was built in 1909. That has a really nice interior, I think. So like here's just a bit of an example of the sort of cozy, very much the opposite of open plan interior,
That feels
and
very 20s.
Yes. Very much,
That's
it's
an
like
insult. It's just that's
Yeah.
the feeling you get from that room.
Well, frankly, I think that's a bit of a compliment, the
Yeah.
1920s were a brilliant time for Western culture. Well, outside of Weimar.
I mean, even in Weimar, it was only really Berlin and the major towns and cities that
Yeah, it was
found anything
the
decadent.
Berlin, the decadent, evil Berlin homosexuals.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, but
I mean,
also
I'm
that
sure-
reminds me of a thing,
I'm sure the villagers would have looked upon it with scorn and disdain.
Yes, well, I mean, how do we think that the great and terrible Austrian painter came to power?
Yeah, I mean that's not wrong, is it?
He literally just, took advantage of the disdainful emotions of your everyday peasant. He was like, "Oh, look at these evil people, these evil, corrupting influences on our beautiful Deutschland."
Yeah, well, his
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I'm not going to go into that. Not going to go there.
I'm just gonna say that my opinion is basically just Carlyle is too much of a Germany simp, but with the sort of denazification in the 1950s, America did sort of botch it horribly, and it does feel like I will admit that does sort of seem in retrospect to have been a bit of a deliberate sabotage. Not in the sense that washing the Nazism out of Germany was a bad thing. I think that it was a good thing, but they went about it in the exact opposite way that I would have. They were pushing very much Germany into the future. I would have very much tried to push Germany into the past. I basically just would have like reinstated the Prussian nobility, because Hitler hated the monarchy.
Well, put it this way, the Nazism, communism, and sort of Western capitalism at the time, they all kind of looked forward. They were very sort of scientific, especially Nazism. It was a very technological, scientific ideology, which is
yes,
much,
and I think
it's the
that's
opposite
what
of what we're
sets
trying to go
Nazism
for.
apart from fascism. Yes, it's like what's it? It's like I don't have much sympathy for the Italian fascists, but I will grant that they at least had a real eye for tradition, whereas it seems like the Nazi program was more so to use the symbols of traditionalism whilst going about horrible modern things like eugenics.
Yeah, I mean it was all predicated on a lot of their ideology was predicated on sort of modern technology and modern ideas. It wasn't very traditional in the sense that you would
Yes.
that we would want it, or
Yes.
just traditionalists would want, and very anti-religious as well.
Yes.
Obviously. Anyway,
yes, it's like what's it? Hitler sort of saw like what's it? Because he was not a Marxist, but he was during the time that he started the Nazi Party, I should say, he was not a Marxist, but when he was younger, he was, and Mussolini especially was, and so from that they sort of got this idea that religion is a bit bunk and it's sort of the opiate of the masses. The thing that separates the Nazi regime from the communist regime is that the Nazis were willing to use religion to their advantage, sort of. They were sort of willing to tolerate religion so far as it benefited the system they were trying to establish, whereas in Soviet Union, you got this more sort of utopianism where they tried to abolish religion.
Yes, well, the ultimate end goal of Nazism would have ended with the abolition of religion. At least its ideology
Yes,
believed it to
yes.
be.
Ultimately, it would have, but
Mm,
not in the beginning.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
Hitler wasn't. He didn't go after the churches per se during the early period. He sort of formed a. There were these, those weird offshoots of religious movements, but they were kind
yes,
of
he
really
did. It's
popular.
like Hitler literally rewrote the Bible in order to
Mm,
rationalize his, the anti-Jewish
mm.
sentiments of the time.
That's the thing, isn't it? You're molding the Bible towards your own present time rather than molding the present time towards the Bible.
Yes. Uh,
I'm sorry to have
though,
derailed this into
if
such a truck
no,
cast, but
it's
it's
fine.
good.
No,
It's a good
it's
discussion.
it's supposed to be a bit derailed. Anyway, but no, as this interiors, we're gonna look at Mayor May House interiors.
What was your
Also,
your point though,
yes,
Sophie?
um, not much of anything. Think that I was just gonna agree mostly. I sort of lost the point that I was talking on a bit, but only slightly. Anyway, so if we just go through these interiors, we can see,
Yeah.
it's a much more cozy than a lot of the other sort of open plan stuff.
Oh yeah. Mm.
I can just zoom in properly.
I think part of it must be to do with the lighting. It's not. I don't know. I mean,
And part of
when we
it,
see the truck cast, when we
but
see the no, not the truck. Sorry, the Squid Game, and we see kind of
yeah,
the setting that he was in at the
yeah.
start in the first episode. You can see that the way that the lighting's been done makes it feel very degenerate, very
Mm. Yeah, well, I think partially it is, yeah, just yellow lights do everything a favor. Plus
mm,
the use of windows as well.
yeah,
Um, oh, is what's it like? Yeah. But also I think it's partially it is just somewhat the materials and stuff. Like there's like the wood and the sort of the cream colored, plaster and
mm.
all that sort of thing.
Oh, there's a
Um,
fireplace there. That's a tick in my
yeah.
box.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, this house was built in 1909, so it's a
Mm,
funny thing. It looks all modern and cement and everything, but still had a big fireplace for heating because even
yeah.
back in 1909, oh, at,
And the thing is,
even back in 1909, yeah.
the thing is, you can tell they did a fairly decent job as well because it's actually still standing. It's still very in decent condition. We'll have to see
Yeah, and
whether.
it's got all the ashes and soot in the back, so you tell that they still use it regularly.
Mm,
It was obviously fairly well built in the first place. Here's the dining room. I sort of love these chairs because they sort of they sort of look like a neat sort of hybrid of like modern and what sort of like modern slickness we
medieval.
might call it.
Um,
The medieval sort of like the sort of pointed.
mm,
It's like yeah, they're just a bit neat.
I'm not sure about
So what's that
the
old?
lights on
Eh?
the corners of the table though.
Um,
The lights in and of themselves are fine. It's just the fact that they're attached to the table, which seems a bit
yeah,
weird.
I'll admit that.
Oh, you still there?
Sorry, my little brother just being a bit of a goof.
That's all right. Yes, well, this modernist architecture we're looking at, I suppose. Oh,
Yeah,
that
no, it's fine. It's fine. I don't need to drop out or anything.
okay.
Um, yeah, I think that I do rather like the way that those lights look. But yeah, I may not sure that they should be attached to the table. You know, and of course this here,
Maybe hanging from
the,
the roof ceiling.
oh yeah,
I'm no architect.
can't tell if that's a window or if that's a cover over the lights, over the light bulbs. I think that's just a cover over the light
Yeah,
bulbs,
I
in
would
which
say
case
so.
it would be rather classy. If
Mm.
that's like a skylight, I would say that would degrade my opinion of this building. I rather don't like skylights.
I think it's yeah, it looks like some sort of cover to me, I would say.
Okay. Oh yeah, you know, like looking at the hinges and things, I think that probably, yeah, that's probably the cover for some electric lights. So yeah, it's probably fine.
The wood as well. I like
I mean,
the I do like the wood that's actually making
yes, I
these
love the
structures.
use of wood in this building. I love the use of wood in this building, and like I love the tiny panes on the glass window. You know, like that
Yeah,
was put together with lead the old-fashioned way.
yeah. I mean, of course, these are sort of houses built for wealthy people. Of course, you can just tell by looking at
Yes,
it.
moderately.
Yeah. But would you find this? Would a sort of would you be able to find this in kind of a very expensive house today? I'm not sure, but it's still sort of
Today, no, not so much, because mass consumerism has infected everything, you know. Yeah, the rich people today are absolute trash.
yeah.
You know, I think some of the best evidence of this would be that the clips of that party that good old Bojo and all the Tories and everyone was caught in back in the, a few months ago now. You know, where like they were dancing in a terribly modern style to like some terribly modern music. I mean,
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness, you know. That's not what I imagine when I think of the Tories having, you know, like secret parties in the middle of lockdown, you know.
You
It's
would
like
think
I
there'd
should
be
think
sort
that
of
they'd be
very,
doing the foxtrot or something
yeah,
proper.
sort
Like a
of,
nice ballroom.
yeah, sort of royal balls and all that sort of thing. No, no, of course it's just modern parties. I mean, they
Yeah, it's some generic,
Boris
like, you
Johnson
know,
went to Eton.
EDM or whatever. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, as if Eton is much of a, you know, high praise or whatever. You know, it's like Etonian. It's like, he made him do unspeakable things to a pig carcass as
I
hazing. I
mean,
bet.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's but saying Eton's it's meant to give a veneer of classiness to it, but probably not so much anymore. I mean, we've seen. I mean, there was that man who there was that whole controversy around the free speech thing with that person saying that there's only two genders or something, and he got kicked out of Eton. Um, I think I remember him being interviewed by Sargon during that actually, or something like that. I can't really remember, but how's he gone? Yeah, but
Noland, I think, is who you were talking about. You know, old Professor Noland or whatever.
yeah, I can't remember his exact name, but um, yeah, I mean, but what my point was, my original point was, it's kind of um, you shouldn't really be having, you wouldn't really expect the sort of Tory types, the ones who the actual party, at least 100 years ago, you would expect it to be a very different type of celebration.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, wait a
Tories.
minute. Englander, yesterday.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
Well, no, just yesterday we were talking about radiators, you know, and so, like, here's an example of a radiator in an American house.
You sure we're talking about radiators? Can't remember that.
No, not yet. Was it last week? My goodness.
It must
I
have been.
Yes, it was when we got into that conversation about like wood stoves and things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on, I need to put back into the stream.
Oh yeah. All right then. See you in a minute.
No, I'm Still here.
What?
I was only seeing.
I've been. I thought you said. That.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. Never mind. You know, so I've been having that conversation about like space heaters versus fireplaces, and I was just like, I'm gonna say that like a good old fashioned, iron wood stove is sort of the happy middle ground.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like
it's much more traditional than yes.
I feel like this radiator it's too small and just kind of dumped in there for the purpose of heat. I'm not sure about the placing of this one, but it might just be my personal biases against radiators.
Yes, yes, quite possibly, yes.
I mean,
Also, as look at yeah,
is that the best
yeah.
of positions to put a radiator in? I'm not really
By the
sure.
window, these are only single glaze windows.
Mm.
Not like modern insulated windows, it's like it's literally a single thin pane of glass keeping the rain out. It's not going to keep the cold out at all whatsoever.
You'd expect like
So,
half the heat there to
maybe
be escaping.
no, I would say is possibly it would be necessary to put it there in order to like stop the frost creeping into the house or something.
Ah.
Possibly. Oh my, there's a photo of some random tourists.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that picture, apart from the people?
There's the corner of the chimney, so fireplace and all that. And also, it's like, this is a decent looking, is it a bit Art Deco and cuboid? Yeah, but it's high effort. No, it's not literally just a slab of wood with drawers. No, it's like there's that little lip there, and that that's nice, and there's the little ridges here by the mirror, and that's nice. And hold on, my mom needs me.
Yeah, well, apart.
Hopefully this isn't the end of the stream. You
not.
keep talking to
I'll
the
do my
audience
best,
with like architecture stuff. I'll message you on Instagram if I have to quit the stream for more than about 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, I guess what I'll pick up here is I'll talk about this picture doesn't look too bad, but the actual the drawers, it's all right. I suppose. I mean, I should have started off really by saying my personal preference would be for much more traditional architecture. Obviously, difficult to it's difficult to find many, obviously, because they've decayed. And there's you have the neo-Gothic movements and all of that sort of thing, which try to replicate it. Um, I'm not really too sure. They did too good a job. I mean, sometimes I feel like you're just kind of replastering it, and it's not really very authentic. It's like a sort of plastic copy. It's probably the best way I could describe it. But the kind of images he's been showing me, they're not by Frank Lloyd Wright, they're not too bad. I mean, they like you've got fairly sort of as we were saying, you've got imitations. You have kind of they've made some sort of effort, and that's the big thing. They're making an actual effort in the things that you're making. I think the modern world, I suppose, and especially in the last few decades, with the rise of sort of the ever increasing rise of mass and scale. Of course, it was during the 20th century, probably the start of it, that we saw its roots. But it's sort of so prevalent now, where we see there's new houses being built, that's new sorts of things that they're sort of plastered together, and they're not. It's very artificial. It's all very sort of the same, pretty grim stuff. But when you see these things, you think, okay, the 20s, yes, part of it was decadent, but they actually made some sort of effort. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, keep going on. It was a lovely thing. I don't mean to interrupt you, but yes, I am back and I can speak anytime you like.
Okay, well, my only point was sort of the main thing, the main part about architecture is whether you like it or not, it's just the actual effort you put in. Is You can appreciate that even if you don't appreciate the actual design of it. And it's not to your own tastes.
Yes. But so like the main thing I was saying about this is like, although this is not completely with my own taste, it's not completely against them either. You know, it's like would like it if it was a little bit finer, but it's not so completely dull that I dislike it. You know, I wouldn't mind owning something like this in my own house.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I don't know how expensive this kind of if you were to put that onto the market, how expensive it would be, but it's acceptable.
yeah. Anyway, so like here's here's this bed that looks very similar to the thing, and okay. This is a bit neat as well, and it's sort of I love the view of the garden roundabout.
Yeah.
This very much reminds me of like a cozy. This almost feels like a grandma's house or something, doesn't it?
Although I would say to make it more cozy, there would have to be there are a lot of windows. There's not very much
Yes,
privacy.
there is perhaps too many windows, especially it's like this building was built in the Midwest as well.
Mm.
Let me check which
I mean, if you're looking for privacy,
location.
you probably will get that in the Midwest, depending on the location. I
Yes,
guess.
but it's not like in the middle of nowhere either. It's in a suburb in a somewhat major city.
Mm.
Let me.
Because when I think of if anyone says to me about sort of privacy and the lack of that in buildings, I immediately jump to
Yeah.
some of the buildings or the flats and apartments they make in Tokyo, the center of there,
Yeah.
where they have the entire thing is made of glass. There's not You can see everything that they're doing, even the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
All of the walls are glass,
Yeah.
so you kind of can look out and you feel a bit exposed.
Yes, although it must be said, Japanese people are that's partially just a matter of high technology as well, you know, because in Japan they've got like these Grand Rapids. I think that's in Michigan. Let's keep zooming out until we find out the location of. It's looking ever more like Michigan. Oh dear, these maps taking ages to load. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. Okay, yes, so
That is quite
yeah,
that is quite urban then.
yeah, yes, it is rather urban. Also, I will say my only real not my only real. I've got several, but my biggest and most real criticism of the Mayor May house or the Meyer May house.
Is this still Frank? Is this still one of his creations?
Yes, it is. It's so far it's pretty much my favorite thing that he's built. Oh, this is that same bedroom we were looking at before, just from a slightly different angle to capture more of it.
Oh yeah.
Or in this little corner here.
It's
Yeah.
well, seeing that now, there is a sort of there are sort of there are walls to it. It's not just completely windows at the edges.
Yes. Yes. I do think perhaps it is slightly too many windows, you know. It's like maybe I spend too much time building in Minecraft, but I rather don't like it when windows are directly on the corner here.
Yeah, I mean, is
I
there?
feel like these two windows ought to be gone.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, is that
but
a
I think
door
that
as
these
well?
three windows are quite brilliant.
Is that
Yes,
a
that's the door there
Yeah.
as well. I feel like the door should maybe be moved over to where this window is,
Yeah.
and then
Not sure about glass
maybe
doors.
not have. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought. You know, like about half of that door really ought to be like the lower half of that door really ought to be made out of wood. It really
Mm.
should only be the upper half that is like a window. The full glass doors, I will admit, are something of a pet peeve. Uh, yeah. Oh, look at the, wait a minute. Though, looking at this other bedroom here, it's like with the sort of the plaster, but with the wood in the corners, kind of. Oh, so that's a tiny room for such a huge bed. I feel like that must be an alcove or something as part of a larger room.
It looks almost like a hotel room.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, I think that is what this house is used for nowadays. And oh, this is. I rather like the look of this little mini kitchen up here, though. Or that might just be a part of the ordinary kitchen. It's got sort of a ranch style, I think, to it. This looks This is considerably more rustic than all the other parts of the house we've seen so far. And I do sort of like that, you know.
I like the tables, the fact that they're all sort of
Well, this counter, you mean?
counter, yeah, wood.
Yeah. And also, it's like I love this sort of cabinet here. I think this was originally the ice chest. Might be a refrigerator now. I love the sort of the heavy, like thick pieces of wood it's got on it. You know, it just feels absolutely sturdy.
Yeah.
But also these like little doors. It gives it sort of like an English panel door sort of look to it. Like the old 12-panel doors that you used to get on like fancy wooden houses. Not wooden, you know, like just on fancy old houses. Anyway, I think.
Is there any other?
How long have we been recording?
51 minutes.
Nothing.
Not too long yet.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, not too long yet. Nothing more really from. Oh gosh, it was a slightly spurgy adventure by the seat of our pants, but I think that was rather fun.
Yeah,
and yeah, we can move on to something else. Still in the realm of architecture, though, we'll be looking at LDS temples.
Show that one in St. Louis.
Oh yes, the St. Louis LDS temple. Yeah, everyone says it both ways. Even when I was living there, there's a lot of people that are like, "Hey, St. Louis," or whatever, you know. Or, you know, St. Louis, and you know, and all that. You know, it's like, even though it is a French city, you know, it was originally a French fur exporter, so really it ought to be pronounced as Saint Louis.
Well, if it's spelled
however,
if it's spelled Louis, it probably would be Louis, wouldn't it? And then Lewis would be Lewis.
Yes, it really, realistically speaking, it is St. Louis, but gotta remember, Americans are knuckleheads, so, you know, it is probably really St. Louis, but we all call it St. Louis because Americans are knuckleheads. We got no respect for the French language.
I as an Englishman can't talk, though, when we have names like, you know, Worcestershire and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but of course, you know, like an American would just say, "Oh, that's Westchestershire." You know, it just sounds like when Americans go to like move, you know, it's like when Americans in England, it sounds like a friggin' Hobbit, you know. It's like, "Oh, we're going down to Hampshire," you know.
Yes, very
Bourbonshire and all that.
Yes, medieval. It's very. I watched a very interesting video which Sargon. It was Sargon Panama hat and Apostolic Majesty. I'll probably chuck it in the Truckcast or the actual server. But yeah, they were talking about that how kind of medieval England was a very hobbits like sort of feeling to it, very cozy.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
So here's the temple that I was. Yeah.
Oh, hello.
My goodness, Joker! Hello, Joker! Welcome. We were just talking about architecture.
You're more than welcome to join us.
Yes, feel free to So it's, in case you don't know, Joker, I'm LDS, aka Mormon, and basically, as we were talking about like other like old buildings and stuff, and at one point Englander mentioned is like, oh, is there any LDS architecture that you'd like to show? And so I used to live in St. Louis, so I figured I'd show you guys the temple that I sort of grew up attending various times. Of course, like the thing about LDS temples is that they are sort of like especially special places of worship. Like a temple is not where you go every week on Sunday. You just go to an ordinary church for the ordinary Sunday services. Um,
So
Uh,
architecture, correct?
yes. Oh my goodness. You're only 13, but you got a ridiculously deep voice, man.
No, I don't.
Also
No, I don't. No, I
ridiculously-
don't. It's not. It's not deep at all.
Well, it's a
sounds
little
like
bit
it's
deeper than
deep.
mine, at least.
I mean,
Yeah.
with this building is very
So you're quite loud. You might want to lower your volume slightly. We are recording a podcast.
Yeah. Hold up. Yeah, I know. Hold on. I'll just turn down my gain.
Yeah.
yes, this
Oh
building
my
is
goodness, our poor viewers.
well,
Should that be a little bit better now?
That's still a little bit too
I
loud,
think
Joker.
our
Sorry.
viewers have tolerated
Uh,
quite a lot when it comes to audio problems. So, one more and it can't do much more harm.
better.
That's better. Let's call that good enough. What were you saying before we got mixed up with audio?
I'm very interested in Soviet architecture.
Oh gosh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Most of that
turns-
stuff is hideous.
Yeah.
Well, no, I disagree because I think
Yeah.
it's not about how it looks to me. It's about the monumentality. Just
Ah.
the pure fucking size and girth of it. That's what she said. Is unbelievable.
I think
Like,
you need to bear in
yeah.
mind though what Soviet architecture replaced these beautiful, immense Orthodox churches. And
Well,
they just
I do have to
bulldozed them
actually
and
agree with that.
demolished them.
Yeah, so yeah. Let's hold on. Let's go to. Is it Saint Basil's Cathedral in Moscow? Yeah,
Oh,
Saint
yeah.
Basil's Cathedral.
Yeah, they
so,
do
like,
that one
yeah.
massive
We
It was the
haven't,
only one they didn't burn to the ground because it was such an iconic piece of like Russian architecture.
Yeah.
And so this wasn't exactly what every building looked like back in the day, but
Dad is on his way home.
oh my, sorry, my.
Oh no. Well, what's your thoughts, Joker, about this?
Yeah,
This
sorry
building
about my
review.
mum popping in randomly.
My mom does as well. Quite tragic.
No. Don't tell me you've gone as well. Are you there, Joker?
Yeah, I'm there.
Well, I'm
So,
not.
hold up. Let me send you something.
Okay, I've actually lowered your
Really,
volume
like-
too much. Let me just increase it. There we go.
I think it's just because I went away from my mic for a second.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Discord audio compresses it, and all the the noise suppression things and all the effects that I
Yeah.
put on my mic because it's a professional mic using
Yeah.
Well,
Logitech G Hub. It
yeah,
basically
me-
compresses it on Discord and makes it sound like shit.
me and Lobster
so
don't
as
have
I was
that
saying-
luxury.
Yeah. So as I was saying though, so I understand not every building in the pre-Soviet era looked like this, but an awful lot of them did, and it's a bit of a shame that we don't have more of them.
I mean, when they got rid of a bunch of them, they did during the 90s. They did rebuild them sort of almost completely to what they were. I can't remember what it was called, but it was this this Orthodox church that was kind of in memorial to one of the Tsars, Alexander II, and that got destroyed during the Soviet era. And they
Yeah.
rebuilt it basically
I sent a really good video in the chat.
I think
And
I've seen that
really
video.
good.
Oh yeah, Solar Sands. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, I watch Solar Sands religiously. Yeah.
So my brother actually does. Except you wouldn't get along with him at all. He's like a radical communist with depression because he works at Walmart and he hates it.
As one does.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's yeah. And the thing is, my brother's like, oh, you're gonna hate it too once you get into the corporate stuff. He's my younger brother, but he got a job before me because unique problems. Anyway,
You're just gonna start reading Marx as soon as you enter the workforce, Lobster.
and no, so the thing that I was gonna say is, you know, like I'm sort of like in the line to get a job at Chick-fil-A,
Mm.
and I figure, you know, like obviously, you know, it's like restaurant and all that sort of stuff. It's very tough line of work, very exhausting.
I think
But
it really changes when you get into actual corporate business and you're working an office job. Very different.
hey, see, that's why I'm studying woodworking. I want to be what's it? Uh I just don't want to deal with all that crap, you know. I just want to make the darn things out of wood. And, you know, like obviously I'll still have to worry about marketing and selling and all that sort of stuff. You know, like it's not easy to be in charge of your own small business or whatever, or even to be a major participant in someone else's small business, but it's not morally degrading in the way that corporate, you know, shit hell is.
You're a valued kind of part rather than an insignificant cog. You can just be easily
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah.
When I'm older,
Yeah.
I mainly want to do tech. I think you
Yeah.
can get into IT business very early.
Oh
Mm.
no, the
It's
Zoomer.
like maybe like
Zoomer.
19.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's gonna be as big in 10 years though as it is now. Because it seems like to use cars as a bit of an analogy, you know, because like cars are becoming less relevant now than they were in like the 1950s. I kind of feel as if I kind of just feel as if the internet is sort of like the new automobile, and probably, you know, like 50, 60 years from now, it'll sort of be like overuse of the internet will sort of be frowned upon, and people will probably go back to a lot of the old ways of doing things, and there'll be more in like IRL meetups and all that sort of thing, and etc.
I would.
I do have to actually agree with that because there's two ways you can look at the future in terms of the internet. Either people will be unbelievably addicted to it, and that's going to kill the human race pretty much. Like not literally in a literal sense, but
Yeah, it'll
I think
castrate us of our souls.
pretty
Well,
much, yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry to
actually
be-
a good way of putting it.
I'm sorry to be Mr. Pessimist, but over the past few years, when we've seen the rapid increase of what I call the laptop class, who spend their basically entire careers using tech, engaging in tech, and speaking through to their sort of work colleagues through tech, I don't really see people's inward souls sort of stepping away from that, because you know we've stepped.
Well,
we're so-
actually, it's
we're so intertwined in it.
we're derailing the.
Yeah, sorry.
My goodness, I thought we were flying by the seat of our pants before. Anyway, as Joker is well, not just Joker, just both of you guys. If you want to have like maybe a little bit more hope or whatever in the world, there is a certain YouTuber that I rather like quite a lot. Originally, he made alternate history type stuff, but now he just talks about ordinary history
Yeah,
and like world
alternate history
politics.
hub. Alternate history.
No,
hub.
not him, not Alt Hist Hub. Is what if
Alt
Alt
Hist Hub,
Hist?
right.
Oh, him. Yeah.
Hasn't
He's
really been
quite
making
good,
alt
yeah.
hist hub videos, alt history videos at the moment. This YouTuber though. Like,
Yeah, no, not him. One of his background flunkies.
What if Alt His did a very
Believe
good
that he-
video? Sorry, go on.
Nothing. It's just basically it's thing that link to video. Yeah.
He did a very good video, what if Alt His, on on Russia and kind of the effects of the Soviet Union had on
Yes.
it. Not in terms of architecture,
Yes.
but just in terms of their kind of demographics and the societal effects.
I
on just the
know there
common-
was this one Soviet. Is one of my favorite albums is based around this place. Hold on, just getting an image of it.
Right, so yeah, it's what if Alt Hiss just made a video recently on metaverse and all that
Ah.
sort of thing, so okay. Okay. Basically it's just
In
there
my-
is some hope,
Mm.
in my opinion.
Well, he's I'm not sure about his.
Oh yeah, that is a brilliant building, Joker.
Mm.
In my opinion, they're way before their time. They're way
of
too
it, yeah.
modern. Like I mean, look at this shit. That's the kind of crap I like. I'd say they were just unbelievably modern with their designs, which
Yeah,
for a
some of the
country
Soviet
stuck in the
designs
Stone
were
Age.
good.
That last one looks kind of ugly. It's kind of off center for some reason.
Not just the last one. I would say that most of these are pretty ugly. I'd say the only one that I really like is that lady with the sword at the top.
First one. Mm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was built something to do with World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
These monuments, though, are hideous.
Oh, there's this one.
It's always concrete, isn't it? It's always concrete in some way that they
Yeah,
failed.
they always made everything out of concrete. It was very odd.
Well, that's not too bad. Well, it's because
not-
concrete is cheap and it's also versatile.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyways, so if I can bring things back to where they were before Joker got on, I just wanted to show you guys a few of the LDS temples that I've had the privilege of basically just seeing in real life, sort of in my time. Nauvoo. I should know how to spell Nauvoo. I actually went there once.
And please go back to the original church you showed us in St. Louis, if you want to discuss
That's not,
that any
it's not a
further.
church, it's a temple, but yes.
What would be the
City
What would be the difference?
churches are incredibly odd. Just the way that all the skyscrapers around them just tower over them, and then you've got,
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
old primitive shit shack. Well, probably shouldn't call it a shit shack. Just sitting there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's the cursing is not the problematic bit, Joker. The problematic bit is talking poorly about old architecture. Anyway, no, so basically
I don't dislike old architecture at all. Like,
I know. Anyway, so basically Englander, the difference between like a temple and a church is it like a temple is where we go to perform what we call the higher ordinances, you know, like a eternal sealings is the thing what we call it, which is like most often the most common sort of sealing ceremony would just be like a marriage, but basically it's like the ordinance in which a family is sort of sealed together forever, you know, like the eternal marriage sort of thing. And but it's not always a marriage, you know. It's like like when an LDS family like adopts a child, you know, that there's a sealing ceremony for that as well, because basically, you know, it's like one of our major sort of core things is families can be together forever. You know, it's not till death do you part, sort of thing. You know, like even in heaven, you're still a family.
Well, this is why we're in desperate need of the LDS stream, where I can
Yes,
where you can enlighten
yeah,
me
in-
on some of the
in-
details
yeah.
of your faith.
It's me and Math Lemon.
Yes. And
Anyway, but
Shadiversity,
the
don't forget him
ordinance
as
that
well.
Oh yes, maybe if we can get like some kind of weird, like if we can get Aiden to get in contact with Rags, and then we can get Rags to. Yeah, maybe.
my mom kept my room back.
Nah, that's fine, Joker. See you later,
See you later.
or in a minute, or whatever. Anyway, so the ordinance that I've most commonly had the privilege of performing in the temple, well, kind of the only one really so far is proxy baptisms for the dead.
Yeah.
You know, because like if somebody died having never heard the gospel, obviously God being merciful as he is, he's not going to damn them or anything, but they still need to be baptized in order to receive the like all the Holy Ghost and all that sort of thing. So one of the ordinances of the temple is like we've got like a special baptismal font. Basically, it's like the same as an ordinary one in an ordinary church, except the one in the temple is round, as the ones in ordinary churches are always rectangular.
Mm.
And also there's a sort of ceremonial, sort of decorative ornament that goes around the outside of the font is
Can I perhaps
12
see an image of
oxen.
this?
The baptismal font for proxy
Yeah.
baptisms. Okay, it's a what? As I was saying, it's like a. Okay.
Oh,
it's
by
a-
the way, not to be completely off topic, but I don't think you need to worry even slightly, like at all. Like you should not experience the human emotion of worry about the metaverse. Okay. As
Yeah, I
someone
know. The
who's
metaverse is basically a
very-
scam.
No, not just that, but as someone who's enthralled in tech, this utopian ideal of fucking being immersed completely in a world like online, like
Yes.
Ready Player One, it isn't real. Like it's not. And I think the issue
I
of
know.
meta is
I'm
that's.
aware of it, Joker.
But basically, what I was trying to say is the entire tech community do not accept meta. We fucking despise it.
I know.
It's been getting clouded on
Um,
religiously.
Yeah, so
So it's
Englander,
gonna
this
get
is the
nowhere.
thing that I was talking about. This isn't from the St. Louis Temple. This is from the I believe this is from the Salt Lake Temple. And so basically it's got like these 12 oxen around the outside edge. It's basically supposed to represent the 12 tribes of Israel because I forget exactly why. It's just well, I mean it's like look at where it's sort of standing on top of them. So I guess it's sort of like, it's like meant to represent like the ancient foundation or whatever of the church.
I mean, I hate to
Because
be,
people do sort of tease us as yeah.
I hate to relate it too much to this, but it almost seems like the Sacred Bull, the famous painting where they're all dancing around. The bull.
Oh yes, I know.
Yep. Yes,
Well,
it
yeah.
does
There's a
look- it
lot
does
of
look
there's a
quite-
lot of animal imagery in the history of Christianity and Judaism. Like have you ever seen a biblically accurate picture of a seraphim?
I have no fucking clue what that even is. Quite frankly.
It's one of the angels that's named in the Bible as a seraphim, and this is
Like
biblically accurate angels. Basically, it's an angel that's got four heads.
Yeah, those things make me shit my pants. Like the clouds with eyes and fucking hands or whatever.
Yeah. Not just that though. It's the one that's got the four heads. I think it's the seraphim. The seraphim might be the wheels. Hold on. Oh, so yes, it appears that the seraphim are actually the wheels. You see, it's cherub is the one that I was thinking of. Cherubim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nah,
there's a
mate,
reason.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
There's a
horrifying.
reason why the angels always say, "Be not afraid" when they visit mortals.
Hold up, send one in. You haven't sent one.
Oh, sorry. Well, no, I am streaming it actually. If you
Oh crap! I didn't even notice.
also, dude, you're such a Zoomer Australian. You sound like any generic person in America would sound. Oh no, Englander.
Oh.
Englander has muted himself. What is wrong?
I am.
Oh yeah,
I'll
I
be
don't
back
sound
in
very
about 2
Australian
minutes.
because okay, this is gonna sound
back in a
really
few
really
minutes,
odd
okay.
because I hate progressivism. Progressives are really retarded. But I was born in San Francisco.
Oh my goodness. See, so what it is you've got that horrible gay California lisp.
Yeah, it's unbearable. I get made fun of at school for it. All my friends poke fun of me, and it's torture. It's the issue is I'm not even It's not like I even have like obviously I have dual citizenship in the U.S. right, but I don't. It's really weird because I don't have any American blood. I got blood citizenship in Australia, because obviously both my parents are Australian.
Well, listen here. It's America. We got the magic dirt, friend.
Facts.
Don't matter where your parents are from. If you're born here, you got the magic dirt citizenship.
And then the fucking unbearable gay accent.
Well, that's just because it was California, you know. It's like if you came from Texas or whatever.
True. I gotta agree.
Well, you know, because in Texas they got that twang. It's not the same as the Australian twang, you know. But out in Texas, you know, it's still a bit twangy out there, so you still get a bit of it. You'd still sound at least as if you belonged in the desert.
A couple of my mates reckon by the time I'm 20 that I'll probably lose the fucking lisp.
The fucking
That's it.
the fucking gay ass accent. You sound like you're from the Isle of Man.
That's sounds Scottish.
What have I just come back
It's
to?
supposed to be North FC. Well, we were just talking about why the
he's been
Joker.
snorting a little
Yeah.
too much meth.
No. I used to live in my neighborhood back in Illinois had a meth shack.
Call King Lobster Jordan Belfort because he's on a lot, man.
I don't even drink. I'm Mormon. Oh golly.
Yeah, that's what he says. That's what he says.
Anyway, yes, and oh shush.
I
No,
doubt it.
If I might be retarded, but my insanity is my own. I was born with it. Yeah. This is not self-inflicted stupid as a result of evil potions.
Oh shit. Duck it like this is a fucking role-playing game. Dungeons and Craft Drug Shack. Would you want to buy some of my evil potions around the corner? We have good deals on the methamphetamine today.
Oh my goodness! I'm about to spit up a kidney, man. You're making me laugh too hard. Anyway, yeah, so the seraphim, or not the seraphim, the cherubim we were talking about earlier, you know, it's like it's got one head of a human, one head of a lion, one head of an eagle, one head of an ox, and also the cloven hooves of an ox.
Where did I put the thing?
You know, so that's just a bit neat.
Oh, well, I haven't even
yeah,
watched
so it's
the
just
stream.
interesting to see.
Hold on, let me have a look.
Oh dear.
So this is just a day of technological failure here.
Oh no. Did the stream fail in the middle? Will we have to edit
No,
two
it's-
videos together?
No, I was just referencing my mic problems.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. You know, as anyways, so let me
No,
show
it's
you
still
guys some of
recording,
the
it's all
other.
good.
Okay, good. Let me show you guys some. Oh dear.
That's what I've seen. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, that's a relatively accurate picture of a seraphim. Yeah. Oh dear, my dog
Yeah,
just
that's
wandered into my
fucking
room.
terrifying to me. That is.
Yeah, there's a reason why the angel said, "Be not afraid" when he visited Mary. Angels are scary as hell, boy.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's let me show you guys the first temple I ever had the privilege of attending. Was what's it, yes.
I'm pretty sure I've literally never stepped inside a church.
Alright, so let me just get the one for Anchorage, Alaska.
Where you were about to step inside one
Was,
virtually. It might not be the same thing, but it's something.
So so Englander, when I was talking before and I was like, oh, it's a bit green, that I guess might not have been the truest thing. But yeah, this was the first LDS temple I ever had the privilege of attending.
Mm.
It looks like a one-story building, but that's because it's got a basement. It's in southern Alaska where you don't get trouble with permafrost.
It looks like some form of natural disaster is about to happen above it. It's like this storm is pivoting around the statue. or the pillar or
Yeah.
column, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing is we always. Oh yeah, no, that is a statue. It's supposed to be the statue of Moroni, which is like a specific. He's a person from the Book of Mormon, so you probably haven't heard of him. He's not in the.
I have
He's
not
not
read.
in the ordinary. He's not in the vanilla Bible. He's in the DLC.
Yeah, no. To be frankly honest, I have almost no understanding of church settle, and I'm not religious, so I'm just being frank. Like,
Not surprised.
I've been-
You're from the Anglosphere. You're not You speak English, and you're not American. I didn't expect you to be religious.
well, technically I'm an American Australian, but I just call myself an
Yeah.
Australian because
Yeah.
true blood.
Yeah.
Just because of my dual citizenship, but it's really
Yeah,
dumb
yeah.
because it's not like I'm probably even gonna go back there. Obviously,
If you
it just makes it easier
if
for
you
me to go.
do-
It just
Yes,
makes it
but
easier for me to go on a holiday, dude. Don't even need a visa.
Yeah,
I mean,
know,
what can we
I know.
expect from an island of prison colonists?
Well,
You
I'm-
created it, mate. I'd shut your mouth.
I mean,
Shouldn't have sent you
well,
fucking
listen here.
prisoners
The
here.
trouble with Australia is not the fact that they're descended from convicts. It's the fact that they're descended from prison guards.
Yeah,
That's where the fascist phrenology comes from.
it's the elites who came over that are the that cause
That
the
is,
true rot.
yeah. I have to completely agree with that.
Anyway, this building, I'm liking the look. I'm liking the look of this one. Is this the same one from that you?
This
went
is
to?
the one. No, this is the one in Anchorage. This was the.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have actually been here in real life. This was the first one that I ever when I was 12 years old. Because that's basically it's like when you're 12 years old is when you get like that's when you're like leveled up enough to do the temple ordinances.
Oh, so you're not even allowed to go into the temples.
I
until
did
you're mature.
there was this one time I did actually start reading the Bible back when I was conservative.
Uh-huh. Back
I-
before
I-
you were.
like-
Well, what are you now?
Yeah.
Just anti-progressive?
Well, no, classical liberal.
Eh.
But I'm
As
like
if there's any
one
difference.
square to the right, but I'm like one square to the right.
Yeah, well, dude. As if there's any real difference between classical liberal and conservative.
Ooh, well, no, I'd say depends on how you see it. Classical liberal, in my opinion, is lib center,
I think.
Yeah,
I think in
I'm
the
from
English
America.
conception,
but
Classical
it's in
liberalism.
terms of it's conservative in terms of its ideals.
Yeah, well, like, dude, I'm from America. My country was literally founded by like members of the British Whig Party in large part. So if you go back to the very beginning of my country, and all this sort of like founding father type stuff, and then like the Democrat and the Republican Party both that were founded in America. Or as like a counterpoint, basically to the Whigs, were then sort of left of the Whigs and all that. It's American politics is sort of funky
If there's anything,
because, like, in certain
Yeah,
If there's any-
politics here is just fucking boring. It's sorry, England, I cut you off.
that's all right. I was only going to add the most annoying thing I find about Whigs is their historiography, the way that they treat history as some kind of constant increase in constant improvement. Anyway, what were you going to say, Joe?
yeah.
Yeah, politics here is fucking insanely dry and boring. Like it's I literally have seen 5 of the same fucking political billboards on the same fucking street for like a fucking party nobody votes for. And it's just like the most well-known thing about fucking the most well-known thing about politics here is that their fucking advertisements are retarded. That's it.
Well, I suppose it's quite. I guess it's quite tame in the sense that if your political party changed in Australia, it really wouldn't have much of a knock-on effect anywhere else in the world.
the rest of the world. Yeah. Whereas America and to a lesser extent
It would
England still
change
have.
kinda if you were to go to Labor Party, which personally I prefer Labor Party. Not that I'm
Yeah.
even a leftist. It's just that I simply hate liberal because it's like I think they're the definition. They're the physical embodiment of authoritarianism. They literally made it outlawed to troll.
COVID Sharia.
Yeah, that is true. But they also made it outlawed to fucking troll.
If it's
Like
any,
it's
Yeah.
illegal to fucking troll
That,
people.
that's pretty fucking gay. Not gonna lie.
if it's any consolation, I probably, I mean, if I could,
Anyways, I have to go.
I'll see you
sometime,
later.
so, see ya.
Well, it was
nice
awesome
chatting to you.
talking to you, Joker.
Thank you. Why so serious?
Yeah. Anyways, is no, so like I was saying before, is Moroni is from the Book of Mormon DLC. He's not in the vanilla Bible.
Mm. He's the
To use a bit of
the 19th century add-on.
Yeah.
They brought out an update very late.
Come on, man. Give it. Yeah. But of course, it's like in. Do you actually know? It's like because the claim that it's made by the church. I believe it to be true, but I'm not going to force anyone else to believe that it's true. Is that Joseph Smith supposedly found the golden plates, which was like ancient documents that he translated, and that's where the Book of Mormon comes from. Like buried in the middle of like the woods, in the in the middle of like upstate New York.
Yeah.
Basically, and that's sort of like where we get all this stuff. Where like Native Americans being partially descended from like a small tribe of Jews that fled Jerusalem shortly before the Israel was conquered by the Assyrians or something, like back in 600 BC.
Yeah.
Although the funny coincidence with that is that in the Book of Mormon, it mentions a steel sword, like specifically in like 600 BC. And then very recently, some archaeologists discovered that that's literally when the first steel swords were sort of like invented, was in 600 BC.
Yeah. Well, I'm not one to well, I'm not a Mormon, so I can't.
I know.
I can't comment on the truthfulness on it. Well, at least I'm not really that interested in attacking whether it's true or not. But you have found, I do. About a year ago, a lot of these videos popped up in my recommended section, which were from these kind of skeptic atheists, which all sort of talked about how the gold plates were faked and how it was kind of he formed a cult and that kind of thing. How would you respond to that? Because they seem to these kind of
We've certainly got offshoots. We've certainly got offshoots that have sort of developed into like cults, but they're very specifically kept sort of like they're sort of like excommunicated from the church and all that sort of thing. Like modern Mormon, like modern members of the church don't practice polygamy, even though we did like back in the. Oh no, I thought you were gone for a second. It was just my internet being stupid. We don't practice polygamy anymore, basically because the government politely asked us to stop, and we politely obeyed the law. But
I mean, you say we, as you said, you were probably
the royal we, the LDS church, mainstream church. But of course, there's like weird sort of heretical offshoots that still do practice polygamy, and they that's where I will sort of admit culty whatever.
Isn't there like the
nonsense
conservative Latter-day Saints or something? Is this really small group? I can't. No, fundamentalists. That's it.
Yeah.
Are they are really isolated and practice?
Yeah, they live out in like the mountains in like
Iowa and Utah, and they're sort of like evil. Well, not evil. They're basically just like slightly creepy Rocky Mountain rednecks.
Mm.
Anyway, no, but here's the Nauvoo Temple, which was not the first. It was the second LDS temple ever built. It was actually burnt down only a few years after its original construction, and it was only rebuilt very recently.
Hmm.
No,
It
because there
almost
used to
doesn't
be
look like
pogroms. Yes.
It almost doesn't look like a temple, does it? Seems quite like a political building.
Yeah. Well, like, dude, the first members of the church all came from New England originally.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you're gonna get that sort of federal style architecture
Mm.
occasionally.
It doesn't look bad. I was just saying it doesn't seem very
I know.
temple-like.
Yeah. Though I will admit that there are some influence that I'll say. It's like, hey, come on, like the sort of the general. Well, let me see. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sort of like 6 by 9 pillar layout here, I think, would be somewhat typical of like classical. I don't know. I'm sure that some like architecture major could say it's like, oh yes, that is very similar to the Hebrew temple that was built in such and such time BC.
Mm. Yeah, well,
Also, the dome here, as opposed to a conventional spire.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the dome. You can tell by the dome, isn't it? That it's not a it's not like a it's a religious building.
It's not like an ordinary church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still.
In fairness, a lot of secular buildings in America will have a dome. They'll just have it like a bit shorter, you know. It'll be like the main roof of like a courthouse or something would be a dome.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Anyway, but basically this was burnt down only like 10 years or something after the original construction. Because, back in the 1800s, there were all kinds of horrible pogroms and things against the church. But then, like literally 100 years later, it was rebuilt.
I mean, that's why
nearly more like 80 years.
That's why they fled to Utah, wasn't it?
Yes, or no, I should say it's more than 100 years, because nearly 200 years after the original. Basically, it was rebuilt like in 2000.
It was in the early 1850s, wasn't it, that the church?
But yeah, the original building was in the original Nauvoo temple was built in the. I'm trying to figure, when was the original Nauvoo temple built? Yes, I think it would have been sometime in the 1850s,
but
because
when was the?
It was before. No, well, because it was before Joseph Smith was assassinated.
Well, when was the movement actually? When did the actual LDS church start? Was it
when did there's sort of multiple dates for that. Like, I believe, what's it like the first revelation or whatever that was received by Joseph Smith was in 1820, but he didn't dig up the golden plates until later, and he didn't start translating them until later still, and he didn't officially file the paperwork to start the church, like the sort of the government paperwork you have to do when you start a new religion, until later still, and I think he was only in his 30s when he was assassinated. He was like in the he was like sort of early middle-aged, like in his like mid to late 30s when he was assassinated.
It's very weird, isn't it? Sort of having to fill out paperwork to found a religion, because it's not. There's nothing. Religion is inherently.
It's for the tax exemption.
Yeah, but it almost feels like religion is inherently metaphysical. It's not of this
Yes.
world. So you feel like it's
Yes.
yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
understand. Anyways, yeah. So like the Nauvoo temple is quite nice, and let's see, so the Kirtland. I think the oldest LDS temple would actually be the Kirtland Temple, which doesn't have a font or anything because basically it was built for not quite like a church. It was built for slightly more important meetings than just being like a church, but it was not built for all the sort of like higher ordinances like
yeah,
the Nauvoo, like the modern LDS temples. It was Kirtland. Kirtland Temple. Let me see. Uh, um, the church doesn't even actually currently own the Kirtland Temple. It was one of our weird offshoots, not the polygamists, but rather it was the ones that believed the son of Joseph Smith ought to be the prophet after he was assassinated. His followers started their own offshoot sect, which was the and that's why it's the only one with a cross on top instead of an angel, is because they sort of got integrated into like some ordinary Protestantism recently, and they don't even use the Book of Mormon anymore. Very, very sad development with the, what was it called? Well, nowadays they're just called Church of Christ, but back in the day they were called the Reformed Church of Latter-day Saints, or of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
mm. What's they've just become
Whereas,
absorbed within Protestantism then?
yeah, literally they're just the Mormon version of Protestants. Nowadays they've gotten so sort of bogged down and mixed in with ordinary Protestantism that they don't even use the like the proper, like they don't even use the Book of Mormon anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard even to be honest. It's hard to even discern what is Protestant and what's not, because Protestantism was kind of started as a rejection of the Pope, and if you go with that,
Yeah.
you would say that the LDS Church is almost Protestant, but obviously it's not.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've got like a rigid hierarchy. Like we're not like the
Yeah.
Baptists that are eternally dividing into new things.
But Anglicanism
We've
is
got like yeah.
a Protestant. It's Protestant, and it's got a hierarchy as well, isn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, it's like there's a huge number of people that, because the LDS Church does not abide by the Nicene Creed, we don't think that like God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit are like all like one person. We see them as being three very distinct personages that are united in purpose, not in like soul or anything. You've got people that will say that the Latter-day Saints aren't even Christian.
I didn't even know that. So you think
Yeah.
so they're almost
I think
different
that's
beings.
yeah.
Then.
I think yeah. It's like what's it? It's like for one thing, it's like we don't even use the word Trinity very often. The thing that we say most often is just Godhead, which I believe is also used in ordinary Christianity. It's just like used less often. So yeah, basically it's more like when Jesus says that like I am one with the Father and the Father is one with me, that's referring to one purpose. Because like obviously it's impossible for the same thing to exist in two places at once. Therefore, since God did not leave heaven when Christ was born, Christ and God must be two separate people.
Christ. So Christ isn't even God then?
He is a God, but he's not the God.
So when you
like
say if
he's
you're
not like
praying,
like Christ is the Son, not the Father.
yeah. Well, my own interpretation is probably leans towards the Catholic one, in the sense that they're kind of
Yeah.
three. They're almost. I mean, I'm very early on in my spiritual journey, so I suppose I can't. I'm not very sort of knowledgeable enough on this subject, but
Yeah, I know, and it's like, listen, it's like And a lot of people say it's like, ooh, that's like a Mormonism, you know, that's like not a proper thing, whatever. It's like, listen, my advice is just whenever you have a spiritual question, just pray about it. And you know, like God will either tell you directly or he'll tell you subtly, you know, like maybe you'll open up the Bible to just the right page or whatever to find what you're looking for. You know, God will make it clear. However subtly, it will be clear nonetheless, you know, the thing what you ought to believe.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like they are just sort of one being, but just sort of divided in their sort of essences, I suppose, like their responsibilities. But
Yeah.
it's probably
Now forgive me if I yeah. Now forgive me if I sound like too rationalistic or whatever, but I understand that God is supposed to be like the biggest and the best and the infinite whatever, but I just don't see that as being very sensible.
so.
Did you hear me the first time?
Well, I don't really see how he could be, anything but sort of omnipotent. Like
Yeah. Well, omnipotent just means omnipowerful, whereas omnipresent, that is where we get into like theological debates.
well, I
Like,
would,
because there's a difference between God seeing everything and God being everywhere.
yeah, well, I would say the very fact that he created this universe would just be the evidence for that he is all powerful because the universe is almost infinite, so therefore God must be.
Yeah, that's a fair thing, but of course, again, you know, it's like, I don't want to get into too much of like a theological
Yeah,
debate
sorry.
because I'm not sure that, like, neither of us, like, I'm not the most well-versed yes person, and you're not the most well-versed conventional Protestant, I guess would be the
Yeah,
most accurate thing to say.
yeah,
Non-denominational.
yeah. Sort
Yeah,
of
like neither
the
of us are the most
slight.
well-versed in our respective faiths, and
No.
yeah. You know, so we shouldn't get too bogged down in things that neither of us know too terribly well.
I mean, it's also not a hill particularly I would die on, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a hill to die on for me either, but I basically just say it's like it's like what's it like all these natural processes and stuff, like the stuff that the atheists use to rationalize their disbelief in God. Like that's not there for no reason either, like God did not just spontaneously make everything in some mysterious process. Like the Big Bang and all that does not cease to be true just because God exists any more than, Big Bang being true, ceased would what's it? Any more than God ceases to exist just because the Big Bang is true. It is the same like both ways. Both of these things can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
God works through nature. God is perhaps even bound by nature, and like gravity and whatever. We don't know because we aren't him, but he does.
Simply pointing out if you were trying to prove that the Big Bang happened, if someone were to say that to me as evidence that God did not exist, I would sorry, if someone were to say to me, yeah, the Big Bang happened, I'd probably say, so what? It doesn't prove.
Yeah.
It doesn't prove God doesn't exist. It merely proves that might
Yeah,
be
well,
one of his
I
means
would
of
just
making it.
yeah. Well, I would just say is just deliberately. It's like God works either often or perhaps always within like the bounds of nature. I don't want to say science necessarily because I think that science is sort of a low modern concept. I would say like nature is probably a much better way. Like all the like God is yeah. It's like he is wiser more than he is bigger, you know, if that makes sense. You know, like God certainly is something bigger and more mighty than an ordinary person. But even more so than that, he's just something that is wiser than an ordinary person. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, going back to the original point that I was thinking
You know,
about
yeah.
is that if I think the fundamental thing is if you believe that Jesus Christ was kind of sent down to save
For the
us from
third
sins,
time, Mom needs you to do
as
the
the Son
dishes
of
at some
God,
point soon.
then
No.
I would consider that to be whoever believes that and adheres to that to be a
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah, well, thanks and all that, you know, and that's very charitable, and you're nicer than most the darn Protestants. Like something, it's not always the case, but something that I have noticed recently is that sometimes Catholics are sort of more willing to accept my church's view on things, and basically it's just what I've sort of discovered. The reason for that is because Catholics get all kinds of bullying from Protestants about, oh, you're not really Christians.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just like Catholics will sometimes be more tolerant for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, there are even I read this interesting article that got sent actually from someone in the
Yeah.
Shielding's server. It was this Catholic person. He was it's called Tiptoe Through Tulip, and if so, Tulip's like a fundamental part of Calvinism. And it was very interesting to see that there are actually far more parallels that than I thought there were between Calvinism, some of their beliefs around predestination and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't like predestination because I think that free will is a fundamental part of like human stuff, you know, like what does God or the devil or any of this mean if we don't have free will? It all seems kind of meaningless and nonsense.
I accept that. I just find some of the I find it hard to sort of balance that with some of the passages in Romans and the verses in there where it says kind of just says he saves whom he saves, and then he talks about, you know, some of the people, like why did he make some people sort of evil, I suppose, and it was kind of they were the ones to show those who are good. He made those to be the ones to show to those who are good of the kind of the folly of their ways, I suppose, is the best way I can put it. But
yeah, well, again, this is like, again, I don't want to get bogged down into a debate because I don't think that either of us really want to argue.
But as I said, I think the kind of attacks on the I have my disagreements with Mormonism, of course, but the attacks on it are far from justified.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's all that I can really. Yeah, just thanks. You're a good friend. Yeah. Is there a friend emote? We need to get one of those. It's like an emoji or something. We need to get like a custom emoji or something for the server. You know, the Pepe friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually do need to go do some dishes. So now would be a good time to end the podcast, and then, you know, if I can finish real quick in like 10 minutes or whatever, we can watch Squid Game or whatever afterward.
Yeah, you can speed clean.
Yeah.
Time yourself. Try and do 5-minute quick watch.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you know, like if what? Oh yes. In the meantime, if you have any ideas or any thoughts, you know, you can just send it to me on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the podcast over now?
It is not. You got to do your sign out thing. Some sort of.
Oh dear, yes. So, this is yes. Hello, my 96 beautiful subscribers. Hopefully, we'll be having the 100. You know, passing the good old 100 mark soon. Regardless of that, though, you know, well, let me check. How many subscribers does Obama have on YouTube? Because I want to beat him. I want to beat his ass. His evil communist ass. This is Barack Obama. Hold on. Ugh. Okay. Stupid YouTube.
That's the one thing I will never forget from
nice.
that last truck cast is the Obama
Yeah.
at the end of it.
Oh yeah. Right. So Barack Obama has 578 subscribers on YouTube. We gotta beat his ass. Come on, lads. Let's beat Obama.